Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. Of course, we have the best audience and all the best guests. So be sure to hit that bell notification button on our YouTube.com/Chris Voss channel. Also, you can now listen to us on Spotify, and iHeartRadio is actually working on it too. You can also go to iTunes, Google Play, and the best thing you can do, the best gift you can give this holiday season is to refer the show and podcast to your friends, neighbors, relatives, dogs, cats, mistresses, whatever. Tell everybody, the pool boy, get everybody to listen to the show, play it just because you can. You can actually say to your home Google device, I'll code that so I don't trigger it, play the Chris Voss Show podcast, and it will. So how's that for awesome? Anyway, we appreciate you as always. We've got a most excellent guest and company tuning in, and you're going to learn a lot from them. And if you've seen the reviews I've done of their products, I've been very impressed enough to invite them onto the show. Grady Austin, the Vice President and Managing Partner, is with us today for MaxCases.com. And a little bit about MaxCases. Over the last 7 years, they've grown to become an award-winning designer and manufacturer of mobile device protection solutions, accessories, and services, particularly for all facets of education. They've built support products with the administration, classroom, teachers, and students of the education field in mind. Welcome to the show, Grady. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thanks for having me.
This is pretty awesome, and I'm glad you guys came on the show. We reviewed a couple of your cases we'll feature here, and I think you've got some with you. Yep. MaxCases.com, and you're one of the founders of the company. You helped start it, and tell us about your version of MaxCases and what it is.
Well, I'll tell you this. My partner and I, Cameron, we have a long history kind of in education. My dad was a teacher, actually, so I grew up in schools. My dad was an English teacher his whole career. So all summers, I'd spend a lot of time with him, running around schools, a lot of time on campuses. Cameron, my partner, his father actually was the very first employee of Smart Technologies. I'm not sure if you know exactly what Smart is, but Smart created the first interactive whiteboard, which is basically a way that you could project your computer up on the screen in front of a classroom, and then teachers were allowed to interact with their computer, which at the time was just cutting edge. So Cameron and I both, our background was in education. The Smart Board really was kind of the pioneer product, if you will, of technology and education. So Cameron and I really got into the technology in the classroom very early in our careers, selling smart boards. I actually did a lot of the training of smart boards. So we, would visit a number of schools. We would show them the latest and greatest in technology. And Cameron and I did that for several years, really working with educators, primarily in the West, California, Arizona, Nevada, et cetera. But really kind of learning and developing and growing in the technology and education space.
Yeah. And even then, a lot of your products, I'm looking over your product page now, a lot of your products are beyond educators and teachers, where I would say businessmen, traveling businessmen, people that are in the field, corporate types, C-class folks that have expensive laptops, have expensive iPads and different mobile devices, really need to utilize your products to give them the max protection for their devices, especially if they're expensive.
Yeah, we're pushing towards that, and we love that. We do think that the products apply across the board. Mm-hmm. But I tell you, the interesting part was, like I just mentioned, so Cameron and I are, we're working with schools and we're selling other, technologies into the classrooms across, into schools. And one day, one of our customers had asked us, said, "Hey, Grady, this is about 7-8 years ago. I'm buying this brand new product called an iPad." And I said at the time, I have no idea. What is an iPad? What does that do? And they go, "Well, we're buying them for our teachers. They're a new product, come from Apple, and we're looking for a case for them. And we have some case options, but they're just black. They're like a fake leather. They open and close, nothing special." And so I said, "Well, no problem, Mr. Customer. I'll go out and find you something that's more suitable for you." So we went out looking for that product, and we just looked high and low, and we just couldn't come up with a solution that the customer was happy with. So kind of collectively, we put our heads together, and Cameron in particular said, "Well, hey, let's just design our own. Let's just make something that this customer is going to be happy with." So right then and there, kind of in that moment, the whole MaxCase idea was born. You know, it was kind of necessity is the mother of invention, right? Well, one of our customers was a long-standing customer out here in California and said, hey, I want a case that's going to fit my school. It's going to have my school logo. It's going to have my school colors. It's going to be usable for my teachers, that would make it easy for them to access, carry this around the classroom, because they're going to be teaching with these iPads. So we really understood what the needs were. The customer came to us and we said, well, rather than go find it, again, we looked for it. We couldn't find it at the time. And so we said, let's make it. And so that's kind of how we got going there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, kind of a cool story. The one thing that really helped us actually was, having a customer base, and we had teachers all over, teachers, principals, superintendents, tech directors, you name it, that we'd already been working with. So every time we would come up with a new design, we were able to send out, a couple dozen, and say, hey guys, what do you think? So we already kind of had a baked in market research, if you will, kind of a case study. People would send us back emails going, oh, I love this feature. Oh, we really like this feature. So we would modify the designs and really cater all of our new coming designs really to fit. What were the requests? What was the actual people in the classroom? What were they wanting? What were they really desiring? And we were able to quickly kind of modify to make that improvements and upgrades, and give the educational environment kind of what they wanted.
Are you finding that a lot of schools, because I don't have kids, so I don't know what's going on in schools, but are a lot of schools giving kids iPads now and
absolutely.
technology?
Yeah, absolutely. So the big initiative, the iPads were extremely popular. Really big in education. I would say they still are. But the one-to-one initiative, Chris. So when you and I went to school, we had books.
I had dirt clods. And
right.
Mostly.
Yeah, we had. Right, you and I remember the Dewey Decimal System. We all had books. We had overhead projectors. We had chalkboards. So now the whole idea now, our students, my daughter in particular, they have one-to-one. One-to-one meaning there's one device for one student. So every single student in America, we're not quite there yet. It's about halfway point now. But every student in America will have some type of machine, whether it's a laptop. A Chromebook is now a very popular device within education, and of course iPads and tablets. So the one-to-one initiative is very strong, and it's basically allowing a student to get rid of all their books and have one machine that all their homework comes in on. They deliver all their homework out of, and that's kind of the way that education is moving now.
That's just amazing what they have nowadays. To borrow from George Carlin, when I went to school, the teacher would just give one student a bag of broken glass and the other student a bag of Band-Aids and just say, educate yourself.
I love George Carlin.
Yeah, so that was it was a great comedian. But that's kind of how I felt. Like you mentioned, like the Dewey Decimal System, and you just like triggered me into like nightmare. If you saw me shudder a bit when you said that, I think I flunked whatever class that was on the Dewey Decimal System, and now I don't. Wow, it's just it's amazing how far we come. And what's really great, I remember when with technology. When the iPad first launched, I saw these kids that were 2 years old and 2 months old tactilely work an iPad, and they can interact with it and understand it. And I just sat and looked at that and said, this is the world these kids are going to grow up in. What sort of world are they going to develop? What sort of world are they going to make? And what sort of expectations are they going to have? I was 10 or 11 years old, and our form of entertainment was throwing dirt clods against the side of our house to see the explosions made, and digging pockets out of the holes they drilled in our yard and walking around construction buildings. These guys have an amazing amount of data, technology, and stuff that they're being raised with. And of course, devices that are very thin and easy to break. And that's where you guys come in.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, Chris. One of the, we're around educators a lot and around this whole movement. Again, when we started, PowerPoint was huge technology at that time. One saying, just in reflecting on what you just commented on, is it's only considered technology if it was invented after you were born, right? So to you and I, right, the telegraph wasn't technology. Even the telephone, it wasn't technology. It was already there. So to you and I, it's technology. The iPad's technology, because it was invented later in our lives, right? So it's technology. To these kids, since they've been born, it's always been there. So it's not technology. It's just the way things are, right? So And again, one other interesting note about, you know, the world the kids are growing up in, students, I should say, students are growing up in now. Typically, a freshman in high school, the job that he's going to have when he gets out of college, even a freshman in college for that matter, that job doesn't exist today. Okay, so the day he enters into college, the job he's going to take when he graduates, it doesn't exist yet. You know, that's the kind of world that we're living in. So it's definitely an exciting time. Like I said, I have one daughter who just graduated from high school, and kind of seeing her gravitate towards the technology, understanding the technology much easier than I did. It's definitely been a change. So, and like you said, I mean, you know, it's a bigger discussion as far as technology and education. It's been a great movement. There's some cons as well. But again, what we do, you know, anytime you're giving anything to a third grader, a fifth grader, a ninth grader, what are they going to do? Right? They're going to break it, whether we like it or not. A ninth grader is going to pretty much break everything. I mean, whether it's a bike or a computer, I mean, they're going to break stuff. That's what they do. So
I think I've broken 3 different.
You know, keep it from being broken, right?
Yeah, I've broken like I think 3 different iPads.
Yeah, it's easy.
And I'm an adult. I fortunately never. I think I've never fully dropped my laptop. I got lucky with my Asus. It survived a couple drops. It survived a couple squishes in my travel bag. Traveling's real important to me when I travel because I usually have a lot of gear on me. Whether it's going to South by Southwest or CES, which is coming up this year. I'm sure you guys will probably be there.
Yeah.
I'm usually traveling with a lot of gear, a lot of GoPro cameras, Canon cameras. You know, and then I got my laptops, and then AT&T, of course, helps us. So with MiFi's and broadcasts, we can broadcast from wherever we are. And so being able to have this rolling assembly of technology is really important to me. And the bags, the cases I use, the luggage I use, is all top line. People come to me and they go, they do this all the time, and especially around Christmas. They go, "Hey, Chris, we know you did that review of that product, and you've reviewed like 50 of these versions of different companies, but which one do you keep? Which one do you use?" And so that's a big deal for me because people always want to know which ones I keep and which ones I use. So we did a review of MaxCases. I think there was at least a couple cases you guys sent to us. And I was really impressed in the quality of the build. I'm going to show it off here. And also kind of the thinking that went into it. One of the things that I really liked, and I haven't seen a lot of from case makers, and I got to tell you, we don't review a lot of cases, especially phone cases, because they kind of became a commodity. So I'm a little picky as to what cases we review and how we do them. And the MaxCase quality I've been really impressed with. One thing I was really impressed with it, and I've rarely seen this, like I said, where people have made a case where it will hold your device inside of it. But most times, I would say 99% of the time, I would never trust that I would be able to do this with my laptop sitting in it. And what you guys have brilliantly done with this, at first when I saw it, I was like, there's a lot of stuff in here. But you guys have made it so this is holding my laptop in. On these points, on this middle point here, there's a band that's holding this in. And then there's also a pull unit that's I'm not sure what we call it, but it holds the laptop in. Now you've made this so that if I'm on the road, which I normally am, I don't want to have to take my laptop out of this. In fact, sometimes I don't want to take it out because I might be on some CES food press area table and there's a bunch of nasty crap on the table. I don't want to get on my thing. Sometimes I'm worried about spillage. I don't know what it is, but I always end up in a restaurant or on an airline thing where I make a place for the drink to be sat from the waiter or the airline stewardess, and she insists on taking that thing over the top of it. And you're just like, so I like the protection and the thought that went into this. It's got a lot of great protection when it comes to the outside, very nice soft material that's going to keep the outside of your expensive, especially expensive laptops looking rich. And so I really love that. And it's real easy to remove from the system. Let's go ahead and just pull it out really quick. And people can see what went into this thing. So you slide this baby out. Just cut that out. And away we go. And so I can have access. You can see I've got a very beautiful Acer laptop here. Thanks to Acer for always sending us to review them. But you've got a system here that's really smart and intricate where It's holding these in. It's actually got a good base that's protecting my units and keeping it balanced. We'll get to the outside of this in a second. It also coordinates with that. But then there's the holder that holds in my laptop, and then this springish unit, if you will, that makes sure that depending upon the size that I have of screen, it will hold it in and everything else. I was also impressed when I first got this. I was like, what the hell is this about? And then I realized this is a way to keep it, you know, when it's flat and steady, even this might curve a little bit with age and time, that's going to give me a nice basis. And it's also going to hold it up off the table in case I get spills. And of course, I've got a place for my business card. That's important to have because I've walked off without my laptop from time to time. You guys got a nice handle. It's branded. It's very well stitching throughout the whole thing. That's another thing I look for, how good the stitching is, how tight it is, how good the zippers are, how easy they're going to move around, but they're also going to hold together. There's a lot of different aspects we look at cases like this. And like I say, I got a lot of cheap stuff in the mail or a lot of requests that we won't fulfill, especially from you know, different places. But usually it's like cheap, what do I want to say, Amazon stuff. You see a lot of these cheap vendors. I'm not sure what these are for. I suppose these are hooks if you want to hook them, maybe.
Yeah, so that's actually for an optional pocket. If you want to add an external pocket to carry your charger, maybe some accessories.
I think one of your products you sent me had an additional thing, and maybe I just can't find it in the.
Yeah, it's an option that some schools want to do that. Some users want to add that extra pocket. Some want to keep it thin. So it's just an optional. It's a way to add an optional piece on there.
The other thing that I was here's another one. This is kind of made for a more smaller unit, and I suppose it might be more reminiscent of something used for like an iPad case. I mean, not a tight one, but just an overall protective one. But it's got a really hard case on it, and of course it's got the eyelets on it. It's got different hooks. If you want to take and hook this, you can use this with a shoulder strap, I believe.
Yeah,
it's got some of the bases, of course. One thing that's interesting to me is the design of it and why this is there. Can you tell me why this is there? Why it's designed this way on these cases?
Yeah, so a lot of what we do, Chris, is to do branding for schools. So on the bottom, you notice that design on both the top and bottom, that same design. So top portion, that square that you see there, is really for a school to add their logo, maybe a mascot, something of that nature. But on the bottom part, where the actual laptop rests inside, that pattern actually raises the laptop to allow some air channels and some heat flow underneath there, so that if you're running maybe an older machine, a lot of the newer machines have a solid state drive, so they don't produce as much heat. But there are some machines that do still get fairly hot, and that is a concern. So if you have your machine always in the bag, being protected, you do want to allow there to be ventilation, and that's what that design really helps for on the bottom near the hard drive. That's going to create an airflow area that you're going to get ventilation there.
And that's what I kind of suspected it was for. So you can see here's where, once again, a screen would be fitted in, and you made this so this is adjustable. These are Velcro rips that we'll take and adjust. You've got the place here, and of course you can put your card in there. But yeah, I thought that was really smart. I figured that's what it was for breathing. But what's nice is you also put the ruggedness in it, where sometimes when you make these adjustments or have these sort of indents and stuff, you can lose a lot of rigidness and hardness. And you guys have done a great job at making this. I mean, I really feel like with your cases, I could take a drop and survive them really well. And I've had different things where I've had my whole luggage fall over, and it's usually one that's filled with cameras, so it's really heavy, fall over onto my laptop case. And sometimes done a little bit of damage to a laptop screen because they don't pressurize well if you hit them. But with these cases, they definitely have the rigidness to be able to have your devices survive and not have to pay expensive repair fees, or just have to buy a new unit when it comes down to it.
It's definitely that one you were just holding there has definitely been one of our best selling products. Very, very rugged, very rigid. Again, our primary guys are those students out there that are pretty tough on the devices. So that's been a very popular item there.
Now, one of the cool things about you guys is you guys make these products for all sorts of different mobile devices. The Apple devices, MacBook, iPad, Acer, Asus, Dell, HP, Lenovo, Microsoft, Samsung, Toshiba. You guys target that all. You even have an extreme shell that's
and I don't think we said to one. I'll show you one really quickly. Basically, what this is, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's an actual snap-on shell that it snaps on both the top, kind of the backside of your screen here, and then also snaps on the bottom, kind of the underside of the keyboard. So you're getting bottom protection and top protection that snap on, and so it's always on protection. It's kind of not going to translate too well here with the cameras, but it insulates all the edges, all the corners, allows access obviously to all the ports as well. We have again kind of dissipation, ventilation on the bottom, a non-skid base to where once you set this down, this isn't going to slide around on you. But again, what the idea behind it is that it's an always on protection, just like you mentioned earlier, like with a phone case, you put it on, you don't take it off all the time. This is for a laptop device. I believe this is actually a Lenovo, and this is one of those devices that actually spins open 360 degrees. So you notice that you're having an always on protection, but it's still going to allow you to go full 360 and open the device all the way. So the idea is that no matter what happens, if I have my machine, if I drop it, there's going to be some type of extra protection on the device. So we manufacture, this is probably one of our flagship products called the Extreme Shell. And we manufacture this. And again, this is device specific. So this is designed for Lenovo. This case is not going to fit an HP or a Dell or an Asus or Samsung or Acer, whatever it may be. But we manufacture this Extreme Shell solution for 50 plus unique devices. So take a look at MaxCases.com if you see one. That's your device. We probably got something that fits your machine. Typically, we build for the top 3 to 5 selling devices per manufacturer. So the top 3 to 5 Dells, the top 3 or 5 HP, Acer, Asus, Samsung, whatever it may be. We try and get everyone covered. So a lot of people say, well, I only buy Dell or HP. Regardless, we usually have a case that can protect that machine.
Yeah, and the case adjusts like we showed, where it'll adjust to the screen size, adjust to the laptop in and of itself. That's what I kind of liked, because I'm actually able to use this case you guys sent with me with a few different laptops we have here at the office. And so I was like, damn, this is pretty nice. And the outside of it's the rugged material. We talked about that pre-show where you guys have the material that goes on the outside. Give us some more data on that.
Yeah, so that's a rip stop material, is what that's referred to as, Chris. It's the other one that you showed it earlier. That's a ballistic nylon, and that's a rip stop. Both of which, the ballistic nylon is going to give you that harder shell when you kind of banged on it. You're getting that really solid. Yeah, that's going to be a ballistic nylon exterior. Again, that's very water resistant. I'm not going to go as far as to say waterproof, but definitely very water resistant. But the other material is a rip stop material, which is really going to take quite a bit of wear and tear. Before it's going to tear at all on you. It's going to need to be, basically cut open before. But, dropping on the ground or having to fall down a set of stairs isn't going to cause it to rip. So that's that particular material there.
Yeah, and I really like how there's the business card on it. Like I said, I walked away from tables with leaving my laptop behind. One of my problems I usually have is I'll set the case down on the side of the table. I'll put the laptop on the thing, and then I'm doing work or we're broadcasting or something else. I like how it's really protective, and it's quick and easy to just pick it up and go. I don't have to worry about spilling stuff on it. It gives it a lift off the table, which is well. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, if you travel enough like I do, stuff happens.
It's interesting, we were initially, when we first were asked for the iPad cases way back before this started, one of the first requests that schools gave us was for the ID pocket. The reason being, the students, sometimes they were checking them out of the library. They would put their ID into that pouch, and they would know which student had that particular iPad. Flash forward a few years later, the ID pocket became very standard for education. But we've done some custom builds for some corporations and for a couple pharmaceutical companies that we've done some custom builds for. The interesting part is, we've done logoed cases, where, again, it's a school mascot or logo, whatever it may be. How many times have I been on a plane, or you yourself too, Chris? I'm sure I've been on a plane, and you take off and then everyone reaches in their bag and they pull out their iPad or they pull out their device. And, I've done it a number of times where I'll say to somebody, hey, nice, how long have you had your iPad? Do you enjoy it? What do you use it for? And say, oh, my work issued it for me. And the interesting part is they're typically using a very generic case. And I started thinking about some of the bigger, opportunities that companies we worked with. They might issue 200, 500 iPads to employees. And that employee's traveling around with that particular iPad, or it could be another tablet. But they're not representing the company. The company paid for it. The company issued it to the employee. So we've done some builds where, the case itself might have the corporate logo. It has that ID pocket to where you're going to have that business card in that pocket that's going to show, here's the company, here's what I do. And I think branding is a really nice way from a company standpoint, not only the ID pocket, but also, representing the company colors or the company logo, and, people saying, hey, that's a great iPad. Oh, you work for, whoever company it may be.
Yeah.
I think from a corporate standpoint to promote, your company and kind of who, what you do. I think that's another nice way to obviously protect the device, but another way that a case gets utilized kind of in more of the corporate or business to business world.
Yeah, and where you can have custom colors and logos with your guys' stuff, especially in your bags and sleeves. A school can put their thing on so they know.
Yeah, I have a couple of quick ones. These are bad examples. I didn't have enough time to grab too much, but this is a quick example. Again, I don't know if it's going to show really well, but this was a school color. This purple color that someone wanted with their particular logo there that we do, things like that. And then also this is one of the sleeves that you have that we do something like, this is the kind of their model. So I referenced earlier the 1-to-1 model. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of the idea that every student has a device that connects them to the world, right? So that's kind of their particular school logo. We do things like that. And I think a lot of it, a lot of times when schools are investing in technology, there might be a bond measure that has to be passed. I mean, there may be taking some tax money that's going to need to be spent to buy all these computers for all these students. A lot of times, putting a case on it that does have the community represented, the city represented, the local area represented. I think, people maybe see those students working at the library or at a local restaurant, maybe, whatever it may be. And I think it gives the community kind of a sense of pride. Hey, we did a good thing. I know it was a little expensive, but we got every student got, Wi-Fi access. Every student got a computer to be able to do their homework, et cetera, et cetera. So I think when you're investing money and making investments in education, kind of reminding everybody that, hey, this is a good investment for the future of these students. Putting those logos on there really helps with that, I think.
Now, it looks like some of your products, if not all, have exceed the military standard 810 military drop testing.
Yeah, we test all of them. That's kind of standard protocol in our industry, is to test everything. For the most part, I'd give you the percentage probably runs 80 plus. Not everything. I think we've had a little bit of the one I showed you earlier. Being able to accommodate some of these newer machines that when they flip all the way around, we really do allow that hinge to go 360 degrees. We kind of need to leave that exposed. The mil spec standard requires 24 drops at 24 different angles. So there's a couple angles on these types of machines that are really difficult to protect just by the very nature. But on the bags and sleeves that you have, and then on our standard devices, more of the standard clamshell, not the 360, our cases have passed that mil spec rating.
Nice. That's really important. We've actually had some really high-end producers of cases, namely iPhone cases, that we found out the hard way they hadn't done military standard drop testing on them. They're usually battery packs that we've banned reviewing and done fail reviews on. So that's really important. If you're a consumer, you definitely want to look for military drop testing standards on your products, because it makes an incredible amount of difference. I've had phones that are in cases that I don't know if they were drop tested or not, but they've been in a case that I was almost sure would protect the phone in a drop, and sometimes in a 6-foot drop, it cracks the phone, and you're like, and I do this all the time. I'm like, that really should have protected it, but it didn't. And there's a lot of intricacies that go into that standard that's very important for consumers. So I really advise consumers, if you buy something, look for that standard, because it makes all the difference. All it takes is one misstep, one drop. I've had an iPad in my hands, and my dogs have leapt up into my lap, and there goes the screen. It just takes that one moment, and then you kick yourself forever. Like, why didn't I spend an extra $50 to $100 just to, get some insurance, cover this thing? But yeah, one of the features I love about you guys' product is that you don't have to take it out of the case. It's built in the case. I don't have to worry about falling out of the case. The original thing that came with one of my Asus laptops had kind of a magnetic enclosure, and it was just a slide case that came from Asus with the laptop. But man, if you turn that thing on its side, that fucker would come sliding out, and you just be like, ah!
Yeah.
So you had to be really careful about it. You're just like, ah! And it was paper thin. It still is. I don't know why I'd say it was, but it's paper thin. So it's what I would call a one dropper. Yeah. So, and most laptops are really, when you come down to it. When you look at the sharp edges on some of these laptops, they're a one dropper. You hit that thing, you're going to pop the screen. You're going to probably destroy the elements of it. They're just not going to survive the sort of damage, especially if you have like a really super thin one like the one I have that I use regularly. So it makes all that big of a difference. So as we wrap up the show, anything else you want to tell us about MaxCases and stuff?
No, I'll tell you this again. I think we've done a really nice job of really, working with educators across the country, from colleges all the way through K-12. Like you said earlier, we have done some good work, kind of getting into more of a consumer space. So we are available on Amazon. Obviously, that's our biggest selling point to consumers. We do offer a series of accessories that go with all the cases, things like headphones, ballistic glass protection, things of that nature. We're actually doing a blue glass solution. I don't know if you've heard much about looking at our phones and computers a lot. Can hurt your eyes. So ballistic glass helps protect the screen, but the blue ballistic glass actually protects your screen from breaking. But more importantly, I think actually helps protect your eyes from getting all that blue light that can hurt your retina and hurt your vision long term. So we're doing some things like that, I think, that are kind of exciting. But yeah, we're just kind of continuing onward and upward and doing what we're doing. And I'm just glad you had a chance to take a look at some of the stuff. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Blue light is definitely an issue. I mean, I work with computers so much, and in my advanced age, I'm going to start saying advanced stage. That sounds much more technology driven. More legal. I'm not old. I'm advanced. Youth is wasted on the young, as I like to say.
That's right.
Been there, done that. But yeah, blue light's really important. I mean, me working with computers, I've actually had to start using different settings on my phone. Of course, the phones now are coming out with the blue light. It's really becoming something that's a feature. I've got specialized glasses that are sent from us for companies. Some of it does help my dry eye at all, but a lot of this does affect our eyes, and we're spending so much of our time now looking at screens. In fact, I'm not sure anybody does anything else between the time they wake and go to sleep.
True.
I think most people are laying there asleep with their phones like this nowadays, which probably isn't always that healthy. So it's great you guys have that. I was very impressed with you guys' products. Go to MaxCases.com and check them out. And especially if you know people who are in the teaching education field, you have your kids, of course, in schools. You want to make sure that they have the best resources, and of course, they don't break stuff. I don't know how it works in a school. If a kid drops an iPad, do they have insurance on that, or does like the parent have to?
Yeah, they have. Some people have insurance. Some schools have a little repair kit right on site now because there's breaks. So.
Oh, the school gave Johnny an iPad. Great.
Yeah.
Great. Breaks that thing, I'm going to get a call. Maybe you should buy it.
Yeah, you got it.
So all that good stuff. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. We certainly appreciate you guys. Go to MaxCases.com. Check them out. I was definitely impressed with them. We review a lot of cases and deny actually 90% of the case offers we get. So I definitely really like their cases and would highly recommend them. Be sure to refer the show to your family, friends, neighbors, relatives. Go to iTunes, Google Play, and now on Spotify. So basically you can listen to like Metallica, the Chris Voss Show, and then you can listen to Megadeth or whatever music you listen to. Like, I don't know, Lawrence Welk, and then the Chris Voss Show, and then I don't know, Shania Twain or something. I don't know, whatever you listen to, you can enjoy the show on Spotify. That's the main part. So we certainly appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.